Hey everyone, welcome back to This Week on Making Room. I am coming back from a little bit of a cold. You might hear I'm a little stuffy, might be coughing a little bit, but 'tis the season. 'Tis the season, right? I cannot believe that we are just on the brink of Christmas. This is the first year I told Colby that I want Christmas before Thanksgiving. I have never done that. I've always had this strict, after Thanksgiving rule, and maybe it's being a mom, maybe it's just wanting a little extra joy this season. But whatever it is, this weekend, the Helgerson household is going full Christmas, and I am very ready for it. Well, when Wesley was little, I mean, he's one, he seems like he's growing so quick, but when he was itty bitty, we gave into TV quicker than we thought we would. And the first show we ever showed him, I've shared this with you guys, was Baby Shark. That was our Asian lifestyle influence. And he loved it. But very quickly, I was like, okay, if we're going to be traveling with this kid, if he's going to be watching a lot of TV, I want something a little bit more wholesome. So frantically, Colby and I headed over to YouTube. We typed in Christian kids cartoons. We had no idea what was available. And we found Minno. We had never heard of it. We thought that we stumbled on a gold mine, which we did. But I quickly texted all of my friends, my creative friends, my friends in media, and I was like, have you guys heard of this company? Because they are creating shows that aren't corny for Christian kids. They are very well produced. All of the theology was sound. We loved them. And there's this one character in particular. It's the son. Oh no, the world. It's the world, right? Yeah. I'm looking at Jess. We'll talk about it more when she's on. But Wesley lights up every time, you're gonna have to tell me what he's called, but every time they come on the screen, Wesley just loves it. So we love that too. And as a family, we've just gotten hooked, downloaded the app, dove deep into Jungle Beat, all the shows, and we are full out fans over here. But if Minno is new to you, here is a little bit more about them. Minno is the leading voice globally for using media to spark kids' imagination and curiosity around God and the Bible. The Minno Kids streaming service is available as an app on all platforms. Minno Originals creates shows produced in partnership with top industry talent. Minno's publishing program includes the award-winning, best-selling Minno Laugh and Grow Bible for Kids, which we love in our households, with the fastest-growing YouTube channel for Christian kids, along with parent resources, blogs, life guides, and so much more. You'll hear that I just referenced Jungle Beat, which I'm sure we'll talk about more in a minute. It's so much more than just the Minno Originals. Minno is where God's goodness and love comes to life for kids, and you could find out more by going to GoMinno, MINNO.com. Well, we were talking about the holidays, and we're going to talk about working against the hustle and bustle in this episode, but we can all kind of feel it when December comes. It just creeps in, and before the joy even hits, it's almost like the hustle and bustle hits. And Feast and Fettle wants to come alongside your family to help you really embrace the moments, embrace the season, spend more time with your family. And you guys know I'm a foodie. I don't mess around when it comes with food. I want the good stuff. I will never recommend anything less. And so Feast and Fettle is basically like having a private chef make all your foods, deliver it straight to your door. Everything from snacks to overnight oats and breakfast, dinners, kids' lunches. They'll deliver it straight to your door. You don't have to cook. You just heat and eat, and it is so crave-worthy and ready to be delivered straight to you this week. You can use code GATHER25, GATHER, and the number is 25. Your first week off of Feast and Fettle, and take a breather as you get ready to start the season.
Hi, I'm Katie, a hospitality educator and the host of Making Room by Gather podcast. I am set to see our communities get back to the table through hospitality, but it wasn't always this way. My husband and I moved to Thailand, and through it, I experienced some loneliness. And with it, I was given a choice: to sit back and accept it, or to do something about it. And for me, that meant two things: that I needed the healing to learn how to accept an invitation, and the confidence to know how to extend one. Through this process, I developed some of the richest and deepest relationships of my life. Through Making Room by Gather, you will hear conversations from myself and experts in the areas of food, design, and relationships. You see, there are countless things trying to keep us from the table. But can I tell you something? Take a seat, because you are ready. You are capable. You are a good host.
Okay, let's do this, Jess. I feel like this has been so long in the making.
It has, yes.
Every time we've scheduled, I've gotten sick. And
Oh, I know.
I
I'm so glad
know,
you're feeling better.
I know. I'm just so excited we're here. Colby and I were talking, and even grandma, my mom, who's watching Wesley right now, and they're watching Minno together. I was like, I
Awesome.
feel kind of like the cool mom right now that
Oh,
gets to meet their kids' like favorite character or something, you
oh,
know?
that's awesome.
Isn't that
I love
fun?
that. That's so sweet.
Well, one thing I just realized is the introduction wasn't necessarily your intro, and we love telling story here. And the reason I like storytelling is I think that there's power in a story,
Yes.
and also it helps us to really understand the full picture of our conversation. And
Mhm.
so, I would love to hear from you. What You're the first person that we've ever talked to on the show, like 150-ish episodes in the media, kind of like kids media space, and
Okay.
so I want to hear what that journey has been like for you. What do you want us to know about Jess's journey to here with Minnow?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and I'm so glad we finally got this going. You know, my journey, I've always worked in entertainment. So I live in Nashville. Minnow is based in Nashville. And I moved here. I went to college at Belmont University and I studied music business. And I wanted to work in the Christian music industry. And for about 15 years until my son was born, I did that. And it was amazing and so fun and everything I ever dreamed of. And I learned a lot about media and ministry and kind of how those two things come together. And then when I had kids, I was so passionate about their discipleship from a young age and always looking for the right resources for them and for us as a family to do family faith formation. And through some of my contacts and the people, the great people I'd worked with over the years in Christian media, and then my passion for child discipleship, that's when I stumbled upon Minnow. Actually, I didn't stumble upon it. It was created by a few people that I had worked with throughout the years. But I stumbled upon the opportunity to join them. And so I had already been writing and doing a lot of creating in the space of curriculum and child faith formation. My husband and I both have always worked in kids ministry and loved serving kids. And it was like God brought together all of the passions that I had into this idea of creating a streaming platform for Christian kids and then eventually creating new original content, so we could raise the bar in what was being made for Christian kids. Because, over the years, when I grew up, especially, and even when my kids were little, my daughter's 16, my son's 13. So even when they were little, there wasn't a lot out there. There was Veggie Tales and a few other things, and there just wasn't a ton. And some things weren't, very well made. And so Minnow really wants to raise the bar and give kids. We always say kids deserve better. Jesus deserves better. And so, let's bring the best that we have to them. So yeah, so I just got to open the door and went back to school and got my master's in education because I became really curious about the intersection between faith formation and media and child development. And so I wanted to know, how do we do this with the best possible outcomes for kids, not only having fun, but learning the Bible and getting to know God.
Wow. I have my mic muted over here just so I can cough, cough, cough without having all you guys hear it. But I love all of that. So much I want to dive into there. My listeners know
Mhm.
I love Nashville. We spend a lot of time there.
Mhm.
It's
Good.
kind of like a huge hub for our community right now, and so I love knowing that you're there. And as you're talking about the community and being a part of it, I know what that feels like just a little bit.
Yeah.
But one thing that Colby and I have noticed as we watch Minnow, you guys really have a way of communicating in a way that like sticks. It's like
Mm.
sticky education.
Mhm.
And have you read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point?
Yes. Oh, it's been a while, but yes.
Yeah, okay, but I love like, he talks about how things stick, and you guys have
Yeah.
really you're so intentional, you're so strategic, and even layers of Bible stories that Colby and I grew up in the church, we're like, "Wow, we've never understood that layer like that," and there's something so beautiful about a childlikeness, like, even for the families, so hearing you say, like, family faith formation, it's really that's
Mhm.
definitely a layer of what you guys are doing, and
Yeah. It's definitely something that we try to infuse into, what we do. We're not just making fun shows for kids. We want them to be fun. We want kids to be engaged. They deserve God created them to be curious. He created them to be, childlike and to want to play, and so we want, to add all those things in there. But we also want to teach them theology, and those foundational principles. And so we have very, very rigorous conversations and debates around the table at Minnow around about every line of every episode. We're going through and making sure, are we saying that the right way? Is there a better way to say that? We'll catch ourselves and be like, oh, the way that was said was not really helping kids gain the best and healthiest God view early on. There's
Yeah.
ways we talk about God that are not maybe the best God view to give a child early on, and so we'll go back and fix it. Because we maybe it's the way we've always said it in the church, and so we that's what comes out when we're scripting, and then all of a sudden we go, wait a second, that's not the healthiest way to introduce a child to God and his character. So let's fix that. And so we are intentional. We spend a lot of time because it's just too important to do flippantly or to not do intentionally. So we spend a lot of time thinking about every word that's said.
So I know some of my listeners are like entrepreneurial minded, some aren't, but we kind of talk about just like some business undertones
Yeah.
on the show. Just because I'm a creative, I'm curious. I know other
Mhm.
people are too. So there was Jess that was curious about launching quality kids Christian content, right? But you weren't in animation, you weren't in TV or
No.
in.
Yeah.
So what did that look like? Because you didn't go back to school to learn how to animate.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
what did that part of the story
Yeah.
look like?
So I actually don't animate. So what I get to do is I look at I'm really more on the editorial side. So I am looking at the scripts and the content, and then I get to work with our director on the way things look. And so he's an animator, and so he's the head of the way it looks, and I'm the head of the way it sounds. And we work together. And sometimes we overlap because he's so thoughtful about the way he thinks like a kid. He's like an 8-year-old boy in a grown man's body. Like, we're always teasing him, but he's perfect for his job because he's really keeping the kids in mind at all times. And so he's an animator, and we work with animation studios all over the world for our different properties. And then as the executive producer, I'm just kind of over the project as a whole, making sure that it's, again, theologically sound and age appropriate, and then just making sure it's true to the brand that we want to be as Minnow.
Yeah, man, I love clear branding, clear brand strategy, all of that. So you're speaking my language and I recognize it in you guys. Sorry guys, this cough is going to stick this episode, but I
Okay.
can only drink so much coffee to get
I
rid of it.
know.
Um, someone was like, "You could have tea instead of coffee." I'm like, "That's not an option." So it
Doesn't cut it.
doesn't cut it. Um, I also appreciate the humor that you guys
Mm,
kind of
mhm.
lace through too. One like factual thing though. So I think it was John the Baptist eating locusts and honey, like only locusts and honey, right?
Yeah.
So I've heard stories about him, obviously, my whole walk of faith. And I was like, Cole, but my husband, I was like, I didn't know that about him. And he was like, oh yeah, totally, that's a thing. And so I love that I'm like gaining those little nuggets.
Yeah.
But the humor, was it Moses? And they gave his sheep really funny names like come here,
Yeah.
buttercup or cookie, or
Yes.
it was so cute. I love it.
Oh, I love that. We try to add those little things because, again, as kids' brains are developing so quickly when they're little. I mean, those little like synapses are firing, and they're creating all of this memory and just association with things. And so we want kids to associate learning the Bible with fun. And it is a heavy book. And there are some times where we're like, well, we don't know how we're going to make that episode funny, but we'll figure something out. And sometimes there's just no place for it, and that's okay. But when we can, we love to infuse those little things, because then a kid is going to have just that positive feeling inside of them when they're thinking about learning the Bible.
So important. I think a lot of us don't even realize how important that is. But when we think back at our own experience, I know a lot of the listeners on the show, I don't know the exact stats these days. Maybe it's 50-50 followers of Jesus, not followers of Jesus. I'm not really sure. But depending on who you are listening, you've had an experience with the church and hearing the
Mm.
gospel for the first time. And it does matter. It does
Yeah.
matter how it's presented.
Yeah, it does.
Um, I just had a thought. It was along the lines of comedy. Oh, I don't know if you're allowed to say this. I'm sure it's fine. One of the voices on the show, is he Dude Dad? Do you know who Dude Dad is? The YouTuber from Wisconsin?
Oh, yes. No, it's not.
It's not him?
Yeah, no, mm-mm.
Okay, because there's this guy with kind of like a Wisconsin accent, and
Okay.
my husband and I are like, "I bet it's him." And
Oh, interesting. I
yeah,
don't think it's him. I don't choose the voices, but I doubt it's him.
that's
And
funny.
yeah, that's so funny. Just sounds like him.
He has a very identifiable kind of like it's not a twang. What would you call it from Wisconsin? Like a drawl? I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's
Which
fun.
do you know which character it is? Do you remember which character?
I'm gonna ask Colby. Colby would remember.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just
I'll let you know.
curious. Okay.
But,
That's so
man, I
fun.
would have put money on it if
How funny.
but, he has a really great voice. You guys hired well. Well, the holidays are here,
Yeah.
and it is really wild. It's been very mild in Connecticut weather-wise, which I'm not complaining about. I prefer it being mild, but it's also made me, like, slower to get into the season.
Yeah.
But you guys recently launched and sent us an Advent devotional.
Yeah.
Are you guys calling it a devotional?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
okay. Okay, perfect. So it is a devotional. Really quick for people listening who maybe are new to faith, aren't followers of Jesus, and are like, "What the heck is a devotional?" Can you just first tell us like what a devotional is?
Yeah, absolutely. So a devotional is sort of it's like a well, it doesn't have to be a book, it can be online, it can be anything, but it is a group of just writings that are sort of a daily
Mm,
um, cadence for you to interact with either the Bible. Some are just very very biblically based and you're going through Bible verses and you're learning what they mean, and then some are just about themes and thoughts around Christian themes, not necessarily looking at a specific scripture. And so a devotional is just really a way for you to engage with God and the Bible on a daily basis or a weekly basis or something that provides that rhythm for you to kind of keep coming back to it. And so it's a really powerful way for families to create rhythms, especially around the season, which is why we created this one.
yeah, I love it because we've had ones for Colby and I and like our marriage over the years.
Mm,
Goodness,
that,
it is what it is. This cough, but
sorry.
no, it's that weird like lingering, just
Yep.
like dry. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm feeling fine, um, but what we loved about this one is, Wesley's very busy, very if you looked at my house right now, you'd be like, "How did the measuring cup end up in the bathroom?" It's like, I wish I
I
could tell
remember
you.
those days. I remember those days.
And so, I've gotten a little bit smart, we have a ton of books, and every day I put, like, 5 books in his playroom, and he is so sweet, he just sits and, like, flips through them and like, it
Oh,
keeps him busy for a while, and what I love about the Minno book, they're paper pages, and I let him crinkle it whatever he wants to do. He recognizes the characters, and
yes,
so he's so drawn to it, just visually, and then, I just believe that God works through that even though,
absolutely.
he's not reading all the words yet, but I love that he loves it, because, like,
Mhm.
identifying the pictures and the characters. So, I would love for you to tell us, like, what makes your devotional different? What makes this one different? Because there are Christmas books that some of
Mhm.
us might have,
Yeah.
or we might be shopping for different types of devotional type things to help us set our hearts for the season. What's different about this one?
Yeah. Well, one of the big things is what you just said is that Wesley recognizes the characters in it.
Yeah.
So the Laugh and Grow Bible Family Advent Devotional is based on the Laugh and Grow Bible for Kids Bible and show. And so what we created the Bible first as a storybook Bible with 52 stories from Genesis to Revelation that really help kids understand God's big Bible narrative and the whole story of God and Jesus and the gospel. And so after we did that, a few years later, we had the opportunity to animate. every story in the Bible. So we're in the process of that, and that's what you were talking about that you guys love watching. I love that. And so we're animating each story in the Bible. We've got about 32 done, and we're going to have 63 when we're done. So we're about halfway there. And it's such a amazing process to put these together. But that's what makes this devotional unique is that kids are able to engage with it in different arenas. So, a lot of kids will say they walk by the Bible and they're watching the show and they'll say, "Oh, that's my Bible," on TV. And so it's really neat for kids to connect the dots like that because then they start to gain an affinity to those characters and the stories and they really connect with it.
Hmm.
And so that's one of the big things that makes it different is it's multifaceted. So the devotional follows four kind of beats of the Christmas story: Isaiah's prophecy, and Jesus, the angel appearing to Mary, and then Jesus' birth, the shepherds and wise men. And so you can watch those as episodes of the Laugh and Grow Bible on Minno or on YouTube. They're all on YouTube, and then engage with it in the book. So it gives you kind of a short reading around that story and the different beats of the story, and then like conversation starters and a prayer, and even a little game to play, something to play. Because and that's the other thing that really sets it apart, I think, from other devotionals. When we sat around the table and said, okay, what are we going to put in this devotional? There's so many out there. How are we going to make it different? One thing that we as parents at Minnow were frustrated by is there was always like a craft or like something I had to do or something just really big. And, I just never had time to do those things in the month of December. So I always felt like a failure before I even started. And so we wanted it to be a win for parents. We want parents to win with everything that we're doing and feel like I can do this. And so it's the play moment is just something simple. They don't have to gather anything. It just happens right in the book. There's things like a finger maze where kids can just follow which line gets to which wise man gets to the manger first and that sort of thing. So that's one of the major things that really sets it apart.
The intentionality is so good. That's so good. I
Mm,
think
thank
that
you.
parents it's gonna be so refreshing for parents as we're going into the
Yeah,
season,
that's what we
and
hope.
yeah, definitely. Well, that's a really good segue into a next point that I wanted to make. So going into the season, if we think back to years past, right, we could hear ourselves saying, the holidays went by so fast,
Yeah.
or I didn't even have time to do this. And so we were just talking about like the holidays are busy. There's a
Yeah.
lot going on. We don't need like another thing.
Mhm.
But on the flip side of that, this season really has the ability to restore hope in our
Yes.
own hearts, in our family culture, in our home,
Yeah.
reset our joy. So I love the thought about a devotional because it kind of invites us to pause, right? It does
Mhm.
invite us to
Yeah.
stop. You can kind of play on that a little bit more, but I would love to hear from you. Like, what are some ways that families can more intentionally, I guess, embrace slow rhythms as we're going into the holidays and into a new year?
Yeah. Well, definitely with the devotional, I'd say this devotional or any devotional or a group of readings you find online, like whatever you do, it provides a framework for you. And if you have a framework, now you can make a framework that's way too complicated. And again, you're going to fail before you start. Or you can pick something that has a really simple framework, maybe a weekly reading. That's why I love Advent because the Advent season is really it's the 4 Sundays before Christmas. And so you don't have to do a devotion every day, although we provide 5 every week in that book. You don't have to do them all. You can just read something on a Sunday and light an Advent candle and just pause for 10 minutes once a week. It doesn't have to be a framework that is kind of overtaking your lives. It can be something super, super simple. But when you use a resource that kind of has a cadence, it does give you something to kind of look forward to and to intentionally, to make you intentionally pause. The other thing I've been talking a lot about this Christmas season. So, like you said, we get so busy and we don't want to add one more thing. And yet, Christmas is like the one of the best, Christmas and Easter really are the two best opportunities for us to pour into our kids our faith. And so because they're so engaged, because they're so excited about the season, and now we can kind of come alongside them and help them understand what the real meaning is and kind of layer onto that excitement. They may not be as excited about Jesus as they are about presents right now, and that's just reality. But as we, continue to reintroduce them every year and kind of build on that and those traditions. But again, it doesn't have to be a lot. And so I've been talking about this a lot. Just really looking at your calendar, and now is a great time to do that. Looking at your calendar at the beginning of the season and saying, okay, what are we going to do and not do? And I know that just sounds like, yes, duh, that's what we do, right? We should look at our calendar and what do we do and not do. But I mean, really, grab a friend and make each other accountable to say, okay, we're not doing this year. We're not doing the crazy this year. We're going to do two things. We're going to do three things, whatever that is, to really strip back and to go like an old pastor of mine used to say, simplify and intensify. So if you simplify your time, you can intensify what you do with those three things instead of doing six things. And I remember being a young mom and I wanted to do it all. I wanted to do the countdown with a little gift and a scripture reading every day. And I wanted to do put on your pajamas and go around and look at Christmas lights with hot cocoa, and then they'd spill it all over the car. And then I wanted to do, go visit Santa, but then they were afraid of Santa. And the list is ongoing of all the things you
Darn
could
it, Jess.
do.
Hold on one second. Ah, dang it. We almost made it. Hold on. Ah, stink. Almost made it. Okay.
That's
I
okay.
I left my notifications on because the baby's with grandma,
Yeah.
and I just got a phone call, but it wasn't from grandma. So
Oh, shoot.
I know. That's
Oh,
okay.
shoot.
We're good.
Okay.
So you were a young mom trying to do all the
Oh,
things.
yes. Okay. I'll
Case
just go
in
back to that.
point. Case
Yes.
in point right here.
Right.
Ah.
I'll go back to that. Yes. Okay. So I was a young mom trying to do all the things. I wanted to do the countdown calendar with all the
Mhm.
little gifts and a scripture reading every day, and going around looking at Christmas lights with everybody in the car with their pajamas on and with their hot cocoa, and then somebody would spill it, and then we'd go to visit Santa, and somebody was scared of Santa. Anyway, you see how it gets to be a completely crazy season, and so I'm just encouraging parents um, to choose 2 or 3 things and just do them intentionally. And then when you only have 2 or 3 things, the other way to make it simple is to I guess you could kind of consider this sort of like habit stacking if you're familiar with that concept of like, hey, we're going to bake cookies, and while they're in the oven, we're going to do a scripture reading. Like,
Mhm.
I know that seems like multitasking, and maybe it is, and that's fine. But it's a way to infuse intentionality and meaning into everything you're doing. And so maybe you don't have time to do both. I know for us, all of our family lives here in town, and everybody wants to do all the things times two, like my family and my husband's family. And so we do cookie baking twice, and we do Christmas lights twice. Like, we do everything twice. And so just trying to figure out, okay, how do we simplify and intensify what we're doing and infuse meaning into everything we're doing
Yeah.
so that even the simplest things our kids can see, wow, like there's substance in even the small things.
That's so beautiful. I love when things are simple but actionable.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the simple things that we don't think about, right? And that's so practical, attainable, all of the
Mhm.
things. And Colby and I started this season. We were like, okay, what's something important to you that we do this season? What's something that's important to me?
Yeah.
Bought the tickets, put it in the calendar, and we were like, okay, now things, now we know to protect this yes,
Yes.
because this is important to us. It's not like, it's one of a silly festive thing, but still it's
Yeah,
important, right,
just
in the midst
yeah.
of it all. And another thing is, I had this goal that I wanted to read a book a month. Some people are like, I read 12 books the month of January. I'm not that person.
Me either.
Right? Um,
I wanna be that person, but I'm not.
oh my gosh, no. So I'm approaching December, realized I only read 4. And I was like, you know what I could do? This helps me like work towards my goal, to honoring a goal that I set for myself. And also to just like create rhythms of rest. So every day I have a alarm that goes off around the time that Colby goes in the shower at night. So to remind me to stop and rest. And
Mm,
I am
so
definitely
good.
someone, if I don't have that alert in my phone, I'm
Yeah,
going to be wrapping gifts. I'm going to be making an extra batch of cookies. I'm going to get
yeah,
caught in the hustle and bustle, even
yeah,
at home. And so it's just my daily reset to just stop and take a
yeah.
breather.
I
Um,
love that, and, a lot of times we can think, "Well, if I have to stop and put a you know, put a reminder on my phones for us to come and read the Bible together or to light an Advent candle, well, that takes the meaning out of it because it's an appointment." That we have to think beyond that,
yeah,
it's just a practical way to really help ourselves, do what we set out to do, and there's no shame in that, there's nothing wrong with that, it's just whatever it takes for us to be intentional with our families this Christmas, it's worth it.
it is worth it. That was the most perfect soundbite, Jess. That was so
Oh,
beautifully
good.
said. No, like perfect soundbite and just perfect like one-liner reminder for
Yeah,
all of us because I don't know where that started that like if we set a reminder it takes the meaning out of it, whatever it
right.
is in life. But it's like no, 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 you're making a decision to make something
Yeah,
important to you important,
important.
right?
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
exactly what it is. And
Yes.
so um, I know that my reading goal is a little bit silly. I always joke that I'm such a sticker chart kid. Like, as kids when they're I'm like, I'm that adult and
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, no, no, December 31st can't come if I didn't read 12 books." So, there's a little bit of unhealthy motivation in that too, but
Well, that's okay sometimes too, I think. I think that's okay. But, if you get there and it doesn't happen, then be kind to yourself, and that's okay.
yes, I'll have a cookie, right? I'll have a
Yes.
Christmas cookie to hope. Oh my goodness. Well, is we're gonna in a second send everyone to all of the Minnow places. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that's maybe a tone in the book or something on the platform that you just want everyone to know about, that you want listeners to know?
I would say, if you do nothing else, we have created the Laugh and Grow Bible Christmas special. So we took all of the episodes, each of the Laugh and Grow Bible episodes are about 5 minutes, well, 5 to 7 minutes long. And we strung the four Christmas episodes together into a special. And that has the hopeful world, is the world that you were talking about that
Yeah.
your son loves.
Uh-huh.
The hopeful world doesn't show up in any episodes, but um she hosts the specials that we do. And so there's a Christmas special. It's about 22 minutes. It's not very long, but it tells the whole story of Christmas from Isaiah's prophecy to the visit of the wise men, and it's really beautifully done and fun, and it's like the perfect when we set out to create it, we had do you remember the old school Frosty the Snowman and those kind of cartoons that you'd watch? We had that in mind. We wanted it to feel classic like that, and
Mhm.
I think we achieved it. I hope that we
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
And it's just a perfect like movie night, but again, only 20 minutes might give you time to maybe have some conversations afterwards, because that's one thing at Minnow. It's why we do this off-screen content. Is not just about the shows, because we say that we want to help parents have the conversations they want to have, but don't know how to have, or maybe are afraid to have. And so we're always giving conversation starters and questions and things like that so that you can be prompted to maybe ask your kids what they thought or if they have questions or what stuck out to them, to really launch those conversations around the Christmas story. So I would say if you do nothing else, set aside one evening and watch that together, because it's just a beautiful depiction of the true meaning of Christmas. And I think it's done in a really fun way that your kids are going to get excited about.
It is. There's this one line. So yeah, it's the whole wide world. I had it on for him this morning, and this kid has a lot of TV this season. Listeners are probably like,
No shame. I get that. I've been there.
"Man, it's
I'm
hard,"
still
but
there. Mine are teenagers now, so there's always a lot of TV.
yeah, thankful for Minno. But what the whole wide world say? I guess you probably didn't know you'd hang out with the whole wide world this
Oh,
morning.
yes.
It was so cute. I love that character. If you guys ever made a stuffed animal,
Well,
I
we're
don't know
working
if
on
this is
it. We're working on it.
are you?
We have a prototype in the office. It's my dream because we just feel like that, because there's some illustrations in the Bible, in the book, where there's one illustration, it's my favorite illustration in the whole Bible. It's Jesus touching the world, because we talk about the world being sick in the beginning, and so there's an image of the sick world, and then at the end when we're talking about Revelation and the second
Mhm.
coming, there's a picture of a happy world, and in the middle there's a picture of Jesus touching the world, and so that's why we called it the hopeful world, because that the world is hopeful. It's broken, but hopeful. And so we envision kids like just hugging that little round world stuffy when they, need just comfort. And so knowing that Jesus is holding them. So yes, we
Well,
hope
if
to
you
do
need a
that
little
very soon.
model baby to, like, beam
Okay.
joy when it holds that
I
stuffed
love
animal,
it. Oh,
Wesley signs up.
that's
Oh
amazing.
my goodness. Okay, so we're gonna link everything in the show notes, all the links to the website, the app,
Yes.
YouTube book, all of the
Yeah.
things.
All the things.
All the things. But I wanna end with 3 questions that we ask all of our guests and to hear
Yeah.
your answers as well. Thanks for putting up with me today, guys. Stuffy, coughing, but
No.
we're on the tail end and we're
Yeah. Right. We're
getting
making it.
yeah, we're
We're
making it.
happen.
Okay, so, the first thing is something you've eaten recently and loved.
Okay, well, this is not gonna be like a foodie answer by
You're
any
fine.
means. We're in a super, super busy season, and so we're doing a lot more like Chick-fil-A drive-through and, I don't know if you guys have Cava and all that, like that kinda stuff. But one thing that we have recently discovered, because 'cause we're always on the hunt for good protein bars,
Yeah.
because my kids love them and I love them for an afternoon snack. At Costco, they had these, they're called Built Puff. Like, it's a play on words, Built Tough. And they're literally like they look like a marshmallow bar covered in chocolate,
Yeah.
and they taste like candy. Like, they don't even taste like fake sugar, they taste like, and I have a sweet tooth, and so but it has 17 grams of protein in it, and it's like a wonderful, like, if you have a sweet tooth and this afternoon slump and craving, you're gonna get 17 grams of protein. So it's called Built Puff, and they have them at Costco. So I've been loving those lately. It's been really fun, and my kids like them too, so that's been good
That's
for both.
always a plus when the whole
Yeah,
family's on board. No, we're big Costco people, and we also are on a big protein bar kick.
yeah,
But what happens is we'll have them for 3 months and then, like, get sick of whatever one we're eating,
yes,
right? And
yeah,
so Go Macro is a favorite of mine.
okay,
Perfect Bar, we love.
yeah, yeah, we like those.
Um, I was on RX for a while. I don't know that I'm gonna go
Yeah,
back. It's not enough protein for me.
yeah,
I feel
I
like
hear
I
you on
almost need
that
2, but that's probably just the postpartum mama in me, but that's
one.
good. That's good. We'll try it.
Yeah, they're
That's
good.
awesome. I like that answer. Um, we've had a lot of, like, fish answers lately. I'm not a big fish eater.
Oh,
So, like, from
me too.
guests, and then my favorite of all time was Mike Goodwin. He was a comedian, is a comedian, but was on the show a few seasons ago, and he said, as a comedian would, he got, like, powdered donuts from the gas station, and they made him really happy. So I was like, "I love it, I love it."
That's
So all
awesome.
answers welcome.
I love that, that's awesome.
Okay, this one's really fun. Ooh, I wonder if your answer is gonna be what I think it is. Okay.
Okay.
A gathering you attended that made you feel a strong sense of belonging, and if you could pinpoint it, what it was that made you feel that way.
Uh, I'm gonna have to say, so the Minnow team is
Mhm.
virtual. Well, half of our team is remote, so we are all over the world, really. But our corporate office is in Nashville, and so we have about 10 people in Nashville, and then another, 20 all over the place. And we had everyone come in at the beginning of October for a team activity, like a team meeting and dinner, and we went to Putt Shack, if you've ever been there, like to the indoor putt-putt place. And it was the first time we had all been together in years. We have some new team members. So it was just so fun and just reminded me of the incredible people on our team that we get to work with, and the really sacred work we get to do together.
Mhm.
And, of course I felt like I belong, because I'm just like, gosh, pinch me that I get to be on this team. I just, yeah, love being a part of it, and, they're just really quality people.
Wow, I love picturing that. Not that this would have been a place that sparked belonging for you, but I saw you went to the CMAs.
Oh, yes. No,
So,
that that
not the
did
same.
not That did not spark belonging for me at all. I we go every year because my sister-in-law works for CMA, and my
Okay.
daughter, the older she gets, the more she is into it. But no, I always feel like a fish out of water there because I don't
Okay.
actually love country music.
Okay.
I like country music. I can
Mhm.
appreciate it, and I love all the collaborations they do. I don't know if you watched the show.
Yeah, yeah.
It was an excellent show, just super, super fun. But yeah, no, not didn't make me feel belong, but it was really fun.
Both answers are good. I enjoyed hearing about both. I had to hear a little bit about it, though.
Yeah.
Okay, and last but not least, something you've discovered lately that you think everyone should know about, an Amazon purchase, I mean, it could be your Costco find if you want, a Netflix show.
I thought about saying it there, but, um, I am gonna say a book that I'm just in the process of reading, so I haven't read it yet, and I'll just hold it up for you, but it's called
Yeah.
The Importance of Being Little.
Oh, wow, I feel like that's a title I would like. Okay.
Yeah,
Tell me
so,
more.
Erica Christakis, she is, just a really great voice in this area of child development and really talking about, like, and the subtitle is "What Young Children Really Need from Grown-Ups." And it's really written for educators and parents to really understand, like, our kids need us to understand how they're made, and that's something we're so passionate about at Minno. It's like, for too long, we've been doing things the way that we do them for grown-ups, and kids are just not built the same, and that's intentional, that God did that intentionally, and so it's really about play,
Mhm.
and really the importance of play and just kind of whimsy and that sort of thing in the life of a child, and how we can help foster that because we get so caught up in our grown-up worlds, like, I got to get this done, I got to. And I remember doing that. I wish I knew what know now when my kids were itty bitty. I would have parented, differently, but that's life, right? But I love sharing it with younger parents to say, hey, it's okay to pause and play and not get that thing on your to-do list done. Like, that's the language of your child, and they need you to show up that way. And so this book is really encouraging in that.
Wow. That's a beautiful title. I'm gonna do a whole, like, book roundup for my followers in about a week,
Oh,
all of the
fun.
books that our authors kind of like or our guests have promoted,
Awesome.
but then all the, like, extra titles that they've recommended as well. Yeah, because I feel
Very
like
cool.
when you build a community, that's a sweet part of it. You end up kind of all like-minded or sharing like, value
Yes,
sharing and things like that,
absolutely.
and so I think that our listeners, followers will love
Yeah.
hearing about that title too. Well, I already said I'm gonna share all the things in our show notes, but
Yeah,
thank you so
thank you.
much for coming
Oh,
on.
thanks for having me. It was so fun.
Whenever an episode gets, like, delayed a few times or there's tech issues, I get even that much more committed to making it a reality
That's so
'cause I'm
great.
like, "There's something trying to stop this episode from happening." So, I'm
Yes.
excited to just give our listeners, just a fresh breath of hope and expectancy,
Yes.
going into this season.
Oh, I hope it does. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, guys, be sure to follow along and all the links. Buy your copy, watch the videos, and we will see you next week. Oh, darn it. I pressed the wrong button. That's okay. End.